Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 70 of the ReInvent You podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Carter, and thank you so much for joining me this week. Today, I wanted to have a conversation around the high achieving woman. That's what I wanted to talk about because oftentimes when people say high achieving woman, it can solely be attached and centered around someone else's career, such as maybe how high they've climbed up the corporate ladder or even their socioeconomic status. Now, even though that may have some form of an impact, I read an article on Psychology Today. And when we talk about the word high achieving, this is more psychological than anything else. It's more about the roles that the woman plays in her life and the desires to excel in every role that she plays. And for the high achieving woman, they normally wear multiple hats, whether that be maybe they're CEO of a company, or maybe they have their own business. Maybe they're the mom, the wife, the friend, the daughter, the volunteer, and with all these type of hats that they wear, their goal is to wear each of those hats very well, which results in the struggle of doing it all. Because for the high achieving woman, there's a high expectation that they have for themselves, that they feel the need to display, not to mention that when that expectation is showed consistently, others have it for them too, which only heightens the belief that they must maintain this image at all times and at all costs. So what typically ends up happening when you maintain this type of image of doing it all and being all things, the badge of being busy is seen as needed, important, and valued. The need for it to be done right creates unrealistic high standards and makes it difficult to trust and delegate. And then the oxygen mask bypasses you because of your constant sacrifice on being so generous of your time that making everything and everyone else the priority turns into you making yourself optional. And over time, what happens is that her wellness gets put on the back burner. In other words, her self-care starts to get neglected. And I'm not referring to this consumer self-care we be talking about, right? I'm not talking about the feet, nails, and hair and the vacationing and the bubble baths and the retail therapy, which now, don't get me wrong, those things are not bad. However, what I find is that many have used these as escaping mechanisms of what they truly need to face. And that is something that comes from within. Because here's the truth about self-care, right? Self-care can be very unbeautiful. Taking off the mask and getting deep and very authentic about yourself and your life takes extreme courage to do, especially when the foundation of your strength has always been the opposite. And what I wanted to do today, I wanted to bring on a previous client whom I've had the pleasure of working with. She was a part of my 12-week Thrive program earlier this year, January to be exact. And we actually had a conversation around Thanksgiving. And I asked her to come on a podcast and share her journey and what this year has been like for her. And so my guest today is Miss Keela Smith, but I call her Kay. I don't call her Keela. That's a government name, but I call her Kay. And Kay is an entrepreneur and an educator based in Dallas, Texas. She is the founder and owner of Capture Code Photo Booth, which is a modern photo booth company that specializes in person and online events. And she believes that true learning, engagement, and growth happens when you do your inner self-work and are giving opportunities to unlock your full potential, have supportive relationships, and are provided with effective strategies to help navigate your social, emotional development to reach your full potential. I like that. So without further ado, I thank you, Kay. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Thank you so much for being a guest on this week's podcast episode.
Yeah, you are so welcome. Thank you for having me here today.
Kay and I, we started working together in January, and Kay was a part of my 12-week program, and it's been close to a year.
Yes.
And since we met and we worked together, and how has this year been for you?
It has been, I can't believe it's been a year. It's gone by so fast, right? 12 months. I mean, in a couple of weeks. Yeah, it'll be a full year. So it's been a journey. It's been exciting. And things that have happened along, this journey during the year that I never would have imagined. And then, thinking back to the intentions I set at the beginning of the year, seeing those, like, it happened. So it's been amazing.
Right. It has been. And I know you started your year off like that. And so I want to kind of go back to that. Let's kind of go back to that because I know there are women who are very high performing women who have challenges of being it all and doing it all. What do you feel like? What seemed to be some of your challenges at that particular time?
Yeah. So at the beginning of the year, I was in a broken state, and I didn't even know I was functioning in a broken state. A lot of things were showing up outside, externally, that I didn't realize until it was too late. One of those things being a relationship that had ended the year before. And I was just all over the place. My health was also not right. Was gaining a lot of weight, hair loss. And I wasn't slowing down enough to see those things, and other people
Right.
pointing things out. And I wasn't seeing it because I had so many hats. My sleep as well. I had insomnia, easily was staying up for 24 hours. Uh,
Wow.
and then also my emotions were all over the place. It was either I was crying or it was the extreme anger. There was no in between. And
Right.
I remember I had gone to a doctor's appointment earlier at the beginning of the year, and I just lost it. And so those external things that I really was not paying attention to really led me to the point of, okay, I need some help in navigating all of this and seeing what's going on, especially in terms of relationships and how I was showing up in life.
Mm. Wow. Now, let me ask you a question. When it came to the area of relationships, because I know you mentioned that,
Mhm.
what did you find to be the challenge when connecting with someone? Where did you feel like were some of your struggles?
Right. So, one being the red flags that I was continually missing. The last relationship that really brought me to this point, I had this dark night moment. I'm like, how am I allowing this to happen at this age? I was going to be 40 the upcoming year. So, those same patterns that I was repeating, and I'm like, I'm too old to be doing this. Why? How did I miss these red flags? Also, showing up and becoming another person to cater to, the man so I could have and be in a relationship, becoming a completely different person, not setting boundaries, not speaking up for myself. Those were these things that I was beginning to see. And I will say that I was in a relationship before, and going back to that external, like, someone seeing something externally, but me not seeing it. But I was in a relationship before, and he had said one evening, he said, "I wish I could be like you." And I was like, well, what does that mean? And he said, when you go out in the world, it's like you have this, you're so strong, but behind
Mm,
closed doors, you're this broken person.
wow. He said those exact words.
He said those exact words.
Wow.
He said those exact words. And I recently remembered that. But even at the time he said it, I didn't even fully accept that. Right. I was just like, well, that's how you have to be. Like, I can't show everyone, how untogether I am. Like, I got to show up. That's how I really thought that's how it was supposed to be. So now that life has happened, and I've done and I'm doing the work, just going back to that moment of, wow, like someone I was in a relationship with picked up on that, and I wasn't even able to see it. But yeah, it was a lot of things there that those layers had to be uncovered and dealt with. And so I say that to say that's also how I was showing up to relationships, just broken as well, and not knowing that a lot of those hats I was wearing and the stress from those roles I was bringing into relationships.
Right. That's powerful too, because just going into, you're an educator, but Kay was a principal.
Right.
And so, number one, I'm sure there was a lot of stress with the job, but then in the position of leadership as well in your role. And then going into that relationship romantically, did you find yourself leading kind of the same way? Or did you feel like you had to be loved by who you are or what you do? Does that make sense? Like, did you feel like, okay, in order to be loved, I have to perform a transaction?
Yes, that makes sense. I will say that those relationships functioned in my role as a principal.
Right.
And
Okay.
I can say that now because those things were said to me during the relationship, like calm down. It can go a different way. It's okay. I've got from the other person. And me, even in those moments, not recognizing that, saying, well, no, I'm just trying to help out, or, I'm just trying to. So I was showing up in that role. And then on the other part of that too, in my role as a principal, a lot of that is listening. A lot of that is helping, students, parents,
Serving.
staff, is serving. I would show up as well with that. And a lot of times too, I don't want to say playing down, but taking a backseat to my feelings, right?
Okay.
Okay, I need to help this person. I need to listen to them. No, I shouldn't speak right now. I need to give them an opportunity to grow and change, and then we can come back and revisit. So yeah, I was showing up as a principal, as an educator in those relationships. And I'll even say in an unhealthy aspect.
No, that's good. A lot of the time that tends to happen, knowing how to navigate through these different roles in a way that sets it up for success. No, I actually think that's really good. Did you ever feel extreme pressure on looking and appearing to have it all together? When we met, you did have a high position. And there's this attitude to like keep pushing forward and this mindset of not being vulnerable because it exemplifies weakness. Do you feel like that's what you had to do and that was the expectation of yourself, or even maybe what people put on you unknowingly?
100%. And that's actually what got me to a large part of what got me to where I was with my health. And those layers that I began to unpack. I'm an educator. It's who I am. But I will say along my education journey that, especially when I went into administration, I loved the classroom, right? And, at the time I wanted to make more money. And where the district I was at, the opportunity to make more money, that meant leaving the classroom and going into administration. And so I did that, really not ready to go into administration, but wanting to make more money. So it was just a natural progression. If you wanted to get more pay, but within that title change, there was a lot within that. When I started listening to my body, really recognizing and seeing things in my life, I saw that my job was playing a large factor into that. But the hard part at that time was, well, if I leave this, what is my family going to say? Like, you're leaving a principal job. I went to a very great university in Dallas, a private university, and I remember I had said something to a family member and they're like, you just paid all that money. You've got to pay, you just went to this university and paid all this money to get your master's degree. How are you going to leave teaching now? How are you going to leave this position? Those were voices,
Right.
playing into it. And then also me being really attached to the title, and what are people going to say, you're a principal and you left that. And I didn't know what life was after that. I didn't know what life was outside of a school building, outside of being a principal. So I didn't know how to answer that. I wasn't ready to answer that from people. You left a principal to yeah. And so even within that, I began to see like, wow, there are family things that are playing into this. There are cultural things that are playing into this, mindsets with myself that are playing into me staying at this position, this job that really has run its course right now.
Wow. That's deep. Because just kind of, just giving you all a little history. So Kay is no longer a principal. Okay. So after the program, you know, Kay respectfully walked away from that particular position. And let me ask you this, because I know when we were in the program and we worked together, do you feel like that inner work that was done helped you came up to that decision to say it's time to walk?
Yes. Yes. And I mean, it had to, because my word for the year was alignment.
Yeah, I remember that.
I put it out there, not knowing, as I had said before, not knowing, okay, I'm going to put this out there, not knowing what's ahead. But the word for the year was alignment.
Absolutely.
And so it was all of these things happening within that starting point that, okay, you've put it out here now. So now let's get ready to do this, aligning myself with where I'm supposed to be at now.
Wow. I love that. Of course, we worked together those 12 weeks. One of the questions I'm curious is what do you feel like impacted you the most during that time? Mm-hmm.
All of the weeks. The biggest, I want to say this, the biggest, because I do talk to it about a lot of people that come to me and they look at me now, or they meet up with me and they're like, you're a completely different person.
You got that. Oh, everybody noticing that glow.
Right. Like, what did you do? How did you? So one of the things I do speak on that I feel was most powerful was when we had to track our emotions. Mm-hmm. And go deeper with that, with looking at the behaviors, the actions behind that. Yeah. That was a game changer for me, that I continue to, it's just a part of me now.
Right.
Yeah. And I was functioning in a place of just not slowing down in life, just not just saying what I wanted to say, doing what I wanted to do, and not slowing down to recognize there's this, you're thinking this because of, there's a pattern behind that, you know, becoming aware of all of those. So that was probably the top one for me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Regulating those emotions. I think when you're in that cycle of doing it all and being all things, you're not paying attention to what's going on internally. You're not as conscious of what's going on with yourself, what's going around you, your environment, your job, just even your relationships that you find yourself entertaining. So I love that. So let's talk leadership. Because I define all the women that I work with as leaders, whether that be inside the home or outside of the home. Did you ever feel disconnected from who you were in your leadership roles?
Oh, yes. I was showing up as the person on paper, the job description.
Right.
And making sure that I met all of those things. But then there was another part of me that wanted to show up, that wanted to be vulnerable respectfully, that wanted to connect more, that it's who I am. Right. And that wasn't, so it really was, I was showing up as this person, going back to, the ex-boyfriend, I'm showing up as this person outside of my home in these leadership roles, and, behind closed doors, different. And people commented on that. I would get the comment, like, when meeting people outside of work, like, oh my gosh, you're so funny. And I'm like, yeah, that's who I am, right. But that wasn't how I was showing up.
Right. So you felt the need to maybe wear a mask, you would say, not really display the authentic part of yourself.
Right. I truly am, and bringing that to my roles. And I will say some of that was there, but there were still those voices. If you show up as you 100%, are they going to want to keep you? Will you be liked? Will you, will the school run effectively, So, yeah.
So why did you feel like it was important for you to dive deeper, to get more vulnerable with yourself as a leader? Because I know you did feel disconnected, but why did you feel the need to dive deeper? What was that? What was the aha moment for you in the position that you played?
The aha moment for me that I knew it was time to go deeper was a conversation I had with myself. And that conversation was, it can't just be like, life can't just be this.
Right.
I'm just getting up, I'm going to work, I'm killing it at work, literally and figuratively. Like I'm grinding hard. I'm giving my all to everyone else but me. I'm coming home exhausted, no time for me. When I do get home, I can't even turn it off because I'm still revved up from the day. So I'm staying up till 3, 4 at night. This can't be it. There has to be more than life to this. I was not put on this earth. This is not it. And I was just feeling it in so many ways, especially in my body. And it got to that point. I'm like, there has to be more. I'm more than this. There's something else. And that just started resonating in me more and more and more.
Mm. And it's something you said quite a few times, and you always referenced your body.
Yes.
And as I tell people, the body never lies.
Right.
You can show up and pretend to be flawless, but your body will always tell you how you really feel. And I want to kind of talk about that a little bit, because one of the things that we talk about in the program and the importance of tracking your emotions is to understand what it's doing to your body. Right? Because sometimes we can find ourselves grabbing something just to grab it real quick to eat it, or find ourselves even not eating at all, maybe experiencing things like you said, you had hair loss, insomnia. So let's kind of get back to getting your body back on track. Again, like I said, self-care is more than just this bubble bath thing that people like to promote. Understand that when it comes to consumer self-care, that's all a marketing strategy. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with that, but that inner work is so vital to your health and your body. Let's kind of go back to that, because I know you started going back to the gym.
Right.
I mean, you made that like a routine.
Yeah.
I mean, Kay was hitting that gym, y'all. She wasn't playing. She was like, I gotta get this together. I ain't got time for this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, that, and I don't want to say I was excited I'm headed back to the gym, but I knew for me that I enjoy where I'm at in my fitness now. I enjoy being in the gym. And I'm able to recognize now I'm not a class person. Like now I like to get in there. I have my plan, but it was important for me to pull that back in, incorporate that back in with my health, because it's an outlet for me. Right. And I truly enjoy it. And it has given me confidence. Being in the gym, doing, working out, doing my routine, building up community in there. And it has been a game changer with helping me with my sleep. I feel rested. I start my days now. I was doing it, and this has been a, trial and error, but I was, going out midday. That doesn't work for me. My day tends to take off. And so working out in the morning has been a game changer with really setting the tone, giving me the energy I need. So that I'm glad I got back on track with that.
Yeah, I am too. And because that's part of putting the oxygen mask on you and taking care of you. And what about exercising that muscle of no? Let's kind of go into that, because when you are that person that people depend on, when you are that person that always feels like you got to be the one to come through, because here's the thing about being this high performing person, people depend on you.
Right.
They do. And if we can also be honest, we create that too, that you can depend on me, right? Because we like to be the dependable person. Part of that could be a place of being serving. Another part of that could just be feeling the need that you have to prove yourself to be loved. It's so many different variables to that. But let's talk about that for a second, because I think this is important. How important did you have to learn how to start eliminating things off your plate, asking for help? Right? Because I think that definitely can be one of our challenges, asking for help. How important was that in your life, and how did you start implementing that?
That was vital. The delegating, the knowing the help that I needed, coming from that leadership, being in those leadership positions, I was used to doing it all. Delegating was very hard for me because I had the mentality, I mean, you're a hard worker, you get it done. So yeah, I always bit off more, than I could chew, just knowing, okay, you got to get it done. Which played into so many other things. So the work came in with, it's okay to ask for help.
Right.
It's okay. There were moments it literally hurt. It literally hurt because I'm like, the voices, what are people going to think of me? They're going to think I can't, but there's no way that I could be in the place that I'm at now doing all of those things, not saying no. And even within those no's, the work with that and the layers, really, I grew up in an environment and a family of, women, you don't say no. If someone calls and they want to talk to you for 2-3 hours, you pick up the phone and you talk to them. You're available for other people. So really understanding why is this pattern like this? Why is this drive in me like this? So understanding that and recognizing that and being okay. A lot of that work came back on my end with, I'm already enough. I always will be enough. If I say no, when I need to say no, and this person is still going to love me. They may be upset. But really understanding that I'm already enough. So I don't need to not say no because that's going to, I'm going to lose a friend and if I do, that's okay.
Right. Because that lets you know where you all stood at anyway. Right. Exactly. Because some people only want the benefits of you. And
exactly.
That's it. Absolutely.
Exactly. So a lot of that came back to me. I think a lot of people say, well, just say no, but you got to understand where that's coming from within yourself to do that work. Absolutely. Right. And now where I'm at, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. Like this weekend, I have to take time out to rest and do these things that I've set for myself. So the plan is already set. I know. So if I get the phone call, if I get the invite, it is a no, because I understand where I'm at now. And that's where I needed to be. And honestly, people respect that.
Right, because there are absolutely
they don't come back to me now asking the same thing over and over and over because they know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And now I will say from that, I feel confident. Before I was on sand saying that stuff, well, okay, yeah, I'll help you out knowing good and well.
I get it. Yeah.
And now I'm more confident because I know myself, I'm unavailable this weekend, reach out or, let me know, I'm available on this date if you're available, but I'm coming from a different place and a different foundation now.
I love that. I love how you said you're coming from a different place and a different foundation. And it kind of goes back into one of the things that we talk about in the program is just reparenting, right? Connecting to our younger self and getting connected to maybe some of the beliefs that we have been carrying subconsciously and unconsciously that we didn't even think that that's what we're doing, and how that impacts us as adults and in our positions and in our relationships. And so what was a foundation for Kay that she needed to rebuild when it came to the younger version of Kay? What did she have to go back to and reaffirm, affirm something different over her, because that impact how you move now?
Right. So many things. Going deeper within that part, the unconscious vows. One of the things is that I had to reparent, mind shift money, how I was showing up with money, with finances, just based on how I grew up, the environment I grew up in. Also, and obviously with coaching, relationship with men, right, and how love for me, it was transactional,
Let's kind of go into, can I stop you right there? Because I want to go back to those two things. Let's talk about money, because what was the belief that you had about money that you didn't even probably realize that you we're connected to.
Yeah. One, you pay your bills. You
Right.
live, you pay your bills. So outside of this, like saving, having a certain amount in your bank account, like, no, you pay your bills. And even within that, I was scared of money in terms of if I had more, I didn't know what to do with it, right? Because you pay your bills. So if I had more, I didn't know how to navigate that. So you go out and spend. You go out and you buy what you want with it. Credit cards, I'd heard, and I always hear, but back then, just if you don't have it cash wise, you don't need to be putting it on a credit card. Just put it on a credit card, but understanding like the interest behind that, if you leave it on there, not paying it off. And then also going back to, there was a fear with money, right? Because I really didn't understand it outside of paying your bills and living paycheck to paycheck, really how to make it work for you. And I remember like there were bills that I was behind on, and I just sort of brushed them to the side. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll handle them. But going deeper with that, like that responsibility, like, no, that is your responsibility. And I wasn't taking responsibility for them, right? Because of this fear around that. I didn't know all of that was there.
Right.
I didn't know all of that was there.
And then you also mentioned about reparenting your relationship with men. That's pretty big. So let's kind of talk about that a little bit, because sometimes we don't realize the relationship we have with men and things of that nature. So do you mind talking about that?
Sure. At the beginning of the year, when I was beginning to see all of these layers, I will say that I decided to get some more help along this journey. And that is when I also decided to seek out a therapist, just to go deeper with what was happening in coaching. And so from the therapy side and the coaching side, I was able to see and get help with seeing that layer of showing up that way with men. And so really, I didn't know that came from childhood, and when the therapist jumped straight in, she's like, okay, how did your parents show you love growing up? And so, I'm like, oh, well, my parents worked a lot. So when how I felt love, my mom would buy me a gift. My dad would take me somewhere. So I didn't know what that meant then to how I had been playing that out in relationships. It's transactional. So if you give me something, I'm going to see that as love.
Right.
And I'm going to give you something in return, be it my time, be it, body, be it, it was transactional, and so within that, also seeing that the men that I was linking myself to were unavailable. A lot of those men were unavailable,
Right.
They weren't ever going to be able to give me truly the things that I needed for a healthy relationship, because I was showing up differently, as well. And that was another layer that's when the real work began.
Wow.
And making that shift, becoming aware of how I'm showing up. And almost, there were relationships that people I would meet, and I would just feel this need to perform a certain way to get validation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, again, just being that high performing woman, always wanting to be on in a way to prove ourselves, right? This isn't to say to not always give your best, but when you feel like you have to put on a performance, you probably aren't showing up in the way that will create that healthy dynamic. And I think what you said was powerful. And I remember you saying that about your relationship being transactional. And I was just like, wow, that's powerful for so many people, believing that the exchange of love is based on what I do and not just who I am. You see what I'm saying? Oh,
Right.
man, I
And
love that.
with that, becoming so devastated if it didn't work out, becoming so
Right.
devastated if he ended it, well, I performed and I did all of these great things. Didn't you?
Right.
And
Right. Oh my God. It's so real because you tie that to your worth and value.
exactly.
And then you feel like, well, maybe I should have done more. When
So you
doing
go into
more
the next
isn't
relationship, the next interaction. So I've got to do, times 3, exponent, and then knowing a lot of those relationships, like I said, Miss Tanya, they weren't ever going to be, to give me what I need for a healthy, not what I want, but what I need for a healthy relationship.
absolutely.
So I was spinning wheels. Yeah.
No, listen, I know this all too well. That was one of the things that I had to come to a realization of. I didn't have to work this kind of hard, right? It's not that you don't show up. It's not that has nothing to do with it. It was how I was showing up, feeling like if I did more. I used to always feel like my results was based upon how I performed in everything that I did, including the area of relationships. And I'm glad we had this conversation because for that high achieving woman, right? And again, this has nothing to do with just your career. It's your psychological belief on how you show up in every role. And when you go about it that way, you start to almost make yourself feel bad. You start to attach your worth to whether or not if somebody wants to be with you, right? You start to look at like, but I did everything. You could have done everything, but is that the exchange? Do we want to make that transactional, right? Because I'm going to tell you what happens. You create something that you actually don't want to create for the long haul, only to be resentful in the long run, right? Because now the more you do that to certain type of people, they're going to milk that, right? They're going to milk it so good. And then you're never going to get what you need. You feel like you can't ask for help. So you just stay quiet. It's so much to that. That's like a whole different podcast in itself. That no, seriously, like just that whole thing like that it is. And so I'm glad you spoke on that because I know a lot of women feel the same way, only to keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, like we needed to stop that pattern because we don't want to keep going through life and then our conversations are the same about men.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? And so that was something that I wanted Kay to recognize. And I'm so glad you mentioned that you went to a therapist because here's the thing, I'm not a therapist, right? I'm a coach. And so one of the things I advocate for a lot is getting both, right? Because there's something that a therapist can do and that's go deeper with certain things. And having that revelation was so important to her reparenting phase of herself to know that I don't have to do this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I will say, and I saw this on a TV show, but I just want to share this, just being honest.
Okay. Yeah.
When that time came, I knew I needed someone to go deep with me. I didn't need how did that make you feel? I'm like, no, I need somebody to get up in here because I've been doing this. Why am I still doing this? I need someone to really shake things up. And so I did consults with therapists because I'm like, this is going to be a relationship. I'm going to be pouring stuff out to them. I've got to get real. So yeah, I would encourage people like, yeah, just because you find someone online, schedule a consult with them. And most of them will do that, to get a vibe, see if there's a connection. And I did about 10 of them before I actually narrowed it down to 2 women. Wow. And so I had 2, and it really is a relationship, because you're having to go so deep and even with things that you don't even know that's there. So being comfortable with someone, I think it's just key. But one of those therapists had said something, speaking of what we were just talking about. And she said early on in the beginning, because I remember I kept talking about the relationships and the men. And she had just said, okay, this is going to be the last day we're going to talk about your exes. And I was so offended. I'm like, well, that's why I came to you. I mean, that's why I'm here. And she said, that's true. That is why you're here. But she said, this is about you. And we've got to do the work. Likewise with the program, with your program.
I was like, that sounds like me.
But within that, she said, She said, here's the thing.
Yeah.
She said, Kay, it is your job as an adult to vet these people out, vet these men out. And she said, what's happening is that you're walking along the street, just headed your direction, and you're bumping into these men, you know, and you're like, and they say anything, and you're like, okay, and you go along with them.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, as an adult, you have to slow down, have those conversations. Okay, are we speaking the same language? What direction are you headed in? I'm actually not headed in that direction. Okay, you know, but she was like, you're just bumping into people on the street and they say hi. And you're like, okay, well, let me go your direction. And then you're hurt after the fact, knowing in the beginning, it is your job as an adult to vet these people out. That was a game changer for me, because a lot of the things I was beginning to see, I was still in that child mentality. And it took the program, it took therapy to say, like, you can say no. It is as you are an adult, you can tell people no. And it is healthy to do that. And it's like, whoa, no one ever told me I could do that. No one ever said, I didn't grow up in it. Like, no one ever said I could do that, that was okay.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Because, you know, it has a lot to do with the need to perform.
Exactly.
Saying, because what does saying no means mentally for me, right? It's more about what we have connected saying no to.
Yeah.
Will they like me? Will they want to talk to me anymore? If I say no, they may choose to be with somebody else. And that's the exchange. And that could be. But if, you know, and so I get it. And I understand it. Like, people say, well, just say no. Yeah, but many struggle with that. And there's a reason why we struggle with it. And that's when we have to dive deeper into reframing what no means for us. Right. So I love that. Like we said, it's been a year. It's been close to a year, because Kay started with me in January. So technically we're not just quite at a year. But I mean, let's just be real. It's been about a year. What's been going on? Like, what are some of the things that has taken place in your life within a year?
Okay. So you just saying that, I thought of money. And because of where I was and didn't even know all of that was happening, one of the things that has happened this year, I've paid off all my credit card debt. It's paid off.
Right.
Yeah, getting a little emotional there.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Congratulations.
It is. So debt-wise, cleared on that. Job, you know, with going back to my word for the year, alignment, and leaving a position that I did my time in that role, and going on to starting my business and working on that full time, doing that full time has been amazing. Relationships have changed, especially my relationship with my parents. 100, like, with my parents, how I'm showing up in the world outside of my home and inside of my home. And it's not a, you know, when I step out, I'm in this different person. And when I'm back, I'm this different person. Like, it's me becoming more confident in who I am and who I am. Right. I didn't know a lot of things about me.
Right.
You know, and then also within, you know, this year, just discovering things that I want to do and I like doing. You know, the newest thing, I'm going to get into roller skating. Like, I really want to roller skate and learn. And, like, you know, video record, like, do some videos and do choreography. And I didn't know that was there, but just having, you know, just discovering me, you know, and enjoying where I'm at in life and not putting any pressure on myself. And then also, you know, speaking to other people. There are so many educators, there's so many women in leadership that I run into now that I see that see me, and they're like, what happened? Yeah. You know, you left the school building? Like, what? There's a life outside. And I'm like, you can do something else. And that is okay. It's okay to do something else. It's okay, you know? And so having these conversations, I can't believe it's just been a year.
I know. Neither can neither can I. It's been an amazing year. I know you said something that you said your relationship with your parents have gotten better. I think that right there alone is such a game changer for many of my clients.
Yeah.
Is reconnecting with their parents in a different way. And I'm very glad that you were able to do that.
Thank you.
That's good. I love that. That was actually like my whole face lit when you said that, because I love that you all have a even better relationship.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kay, I know I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but what is it that you would like to say to that woman right now who wears multiple hats in life, is always perceived to be the go-to person, and doesn't know how to stop, right? Because let me tell you something, it's not that she don't know. It's like it's not that she don't know, because these are different types of women. They know, but facing it and admitting it and doing something about it can be the challenge, because then that means that if I show up saying that, then people are going to think I don't have it all together, and I can't let people see me like that. I need to always be on. What do you tell that woman?
There's so much in that. I will start at, you were put here for a reason. Mm-hmm. Put here for a reason, and you have a purpose. And within that, you have to start living life differently and showing up differently to bring that out, bring your best self out. A lot of us are running ourselves into the ground, and we know it because we're tired every day. We're tired, but you're here for a reason, right? And it is time to really get to a place of healing so that you can truly be whole and full and healthy in all aspects of your life. Coaching plays a large part into that. Building a community as well, being in a community that is supportive, that is there to help you. It's time. It's time. And I don't think these conversations are happening enough, because so many of us have just, no one has ever said, like, you got to slow down, because if not, in X amount of years, the cancer is going to show up. The whatever's going to show up, you're running yourself into the ground, and it's not worth it. What for? And also the other piece in that, are you truly living the life you want to live? Are you truly, and I'm not talking about the titles and the money, and are you truly living the life you want to live? If you can say no, if you hesitate, it's really time to stop. And it's time to stop and do the work and see who can help me to getting there.
Right. Because I'm going to be honest, it is a humbling experience. When you are always in the position, or when you're always positioned to help other people, you asking for help is like, who am I to ask for help? Like, I know, like, I'm telling you have to, it is a very humbling experience. And I'm glad that, I'm so glad that you were a part of my program. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed working with you. It was a pleasure the entire time. One of the things that I truly admired about Kay is her willingness to do the work. And that was something that was unexcusable to like, you can't do my program without doing the work.
Yeah.
There's just no way. You won't perform well and you won't see the results. However, Kay did the work every week. Like, she did the work. Like, it was amazing how she did the work, and things were just happening. And I think what also was so amazing is that everyone in that cohort was feeding off each other. Right. So it was a domino effect of change. And it's women like you that inspires me to continue to keep doing what God has called me to do. I mean, because healing is one of the most challenging things to do. It takes a lot of courage to show up and be like, I need help. And taking that mask off to do the work. I love it. And I've enjoyed you. And so much has happened just in a year. I'm going to be so amazed to see what happens in the upcoming year. Me too. I'm just excited. And I thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey.
Thank you.
That means a lot to me. So I am very, very proud of you, Kay.
Thank you so much, Miss Tanya. It was an amazing experience, and I'm glad that our paths cross on the internet.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you. And
absolutely.
Thank you for what you're doing with helping, especially women in leadership roles to just develop in who we are, to show up authentically in this world and be the best. Be the best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm definitely not going to take up more of your time because I know I took a lot of that, but thank you again, Kay. I appreciate you being a guest, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay.